At the point of recording this, I don't know whether or not this is going to make it into the blog. I'm just so frustrated. The last video blog, week 7, I seem to have made quite significant progress on the requirements for registration, and today has just been so disheartening. Like, just so disheartening. The system here is so corrupt. So today, first thing I did was go to immigration, because the temporary employment permit that I paid for almost a month ago, I've still not received. My extension of my initial visa runs out very, very soon. So I thought I'd go and check. They've lost it. They've lost everything. I have to call back at one point to see what's going to happen. I already know what's going to happen. I've seen how it happens here. Every time something like that happens, when it's administrative error, the onus is on the applicant, which basically means, oh, you need to start again, I'm afraid. I just can't be bothered. I really just can't. I then went to the police headquarters. Police headquarters. Because one of the requirements is everyone who's based in Zambia, which would be myself and Kelvin, we need to be police vetted, which is just a matter of us filling in a form each, very simple form, and then each of our fingerprints. That's it. There's nothing more to it. That's it. And when we arrived, without even asking us questions, just looking at us, they looked at Kelvin and says, okay, yours is going to be 112 kwacha. And then they looked at me and says, yours is going to be 530. I immediately bit, and I just said, excuse me, but can you explain to me why mine is more expensive? And they pretty much just looked at me and said, because I'm white. I was so disgusted. So disgusted. I never had the money. Bottom line, I never had the money. I was just like, that is just so extreme. And ended up, it turned into an argument, and eventually, because I had to get back to the charity and just explain what had happened, because the system's changed here. It used to be you could get police vetted in any police station, and then they would each determine the amount of money they were going to charge you, depending on the colour of your skin, apparently. And but now it's only in police headquarters. It's only there, so there's no one else to speak to. If they don't do it, the registration doesn't happen. So eventually it turned into, I said to them, I says, okay, so if I was to pay that, when would I expect to get these? And I says, oh, maybe a week. Now let's keep in mind that when I was applying for my TEP, I got told maybe 5 days. It's been a month, and now everything's gone. So they basically said, if I bring the money tomorrow, I'll get them tomorrow. We'll see. Time for an update. So the last video blog, I was in the pits of frustration. So I'll give you an update on that. So first of all, immigration. I stated that I was to call back to find out what's happening. The immigration officer who's in charge of all temporary employment permits, I had his card and he said call him back the next day, which I did. I got a hold of him and he said he had something to do, but call him back in 15 minutes. Now today is Thursday evening, that was Tuesday morning. He has never answered any of my calls. I think he's just choosing to ignore me. So I now need to go back to immigration tomorrow personally to chase this up. Once again, I have got the frustration of not knowing what my legal status in Zambia is going to be. I need to, at the very least, get an extension on my current visa if they cannot locate my TEP. But once again, maybe the next piece of footage will be me saying what's next, or what actually happened tomorrow. Police clearance. I went to the police headquarters the next day, where the officer was demanding the money from me. I refused to hand over the money until I physically had the documents in my hands. That worked. So even though I did get extorted, they did take way too much money from the charity for these clearances. We have the clearances, so I now never need to deal with the police again, pending immigration issues. We just completed an inspection. We got an inspection from an officer from the Ministry of Community Development and Child Health. I think it went well. She was late by an hour, but that's not bad for Zambia, in my experience. For about an hour, we were standing outside next to the pitch whilst our team trained. Well, she just asked every single conceivable detail about the organisation, its aims, its objectives, its plans for the future, how it was established, people involved, methods of selection, sponsorship, funding, everything. I feel Kelvin and I represented the organisation well. We had answers for every question. She seemed very happy with it. She then told us, now at the stage we are at when it comes to the NGO registration, we require one thing to submit. One thing. As a matter of fact, you can see everything laid out here. We require one piece of paper from our ministry saying that they recommend us to get NGO status. That's it. And then job done. Because there's no reason for us to get rejected. Well, I say that. Let's wait and see. Don't want to tempt fate. But she then told me she's happy with everything, but she requires more information. I said, well, what do you require? Thankfully, it was like personal details of myself, the Board of Trustees and Kelvin, which I have anyway. That's part of the registration. So I have all them. But she also says that she needs evidence of financial stability. Essentially a bank statement. So I've contacted the charity, the Board of Trustees in Scotland, and requested a copy of that. She's put me on a bit of a timescale because she requires all this by Tuesday, because Monday is a public holiday, Women's Day. So I now have to hope that a member of the charity has a chance to send me that by tomorrow, so I can print it tomorrow. I can only do it when I'm in the office. Once I get that, I will then print off additional copies of passports and addresses, etc. To give to her on Tuesday. But then she says it could take 2 weeks to get that piece of paper that says that we're recommended. I feel there was certainly communication issues between us. It was not lingual by any manner of means. It was actually because she was talking about getting like her contacting the NGO registration board and things like that. She doesn't need to do that. I think the Ministry of Sport, as well as the Ministry of Community Development, think that we are asking them to register us. We're not at all. We are registering ourselves independently as an international NGO. Essentially, I've done all of the work. It's almost finished. We just need that piece of paper. But I don't feel she really got what I was saying. So I think when I go in on Tuesday, I'm going to try and ask her if I can have something to show to the Board of Trustees to show that the meeting went well, and then use that, because I think that's all the NGO Registration Board need. If the ministries are going to contact the NGO Registration Board independently, then that's in our favour. But all we need is that piece of paper that says that. The Ministry of Sport, I'm still waiting on them getting back to me. They said that all they need is the signature of the Permanent Secretary. And then the registrar was telling me I then need to give copies of the Constitution to the Registrar of Societies. No, I don't. I do not need to do that. We are completely independent of the Registrar of Societies. We were never registered under the Registrar of Societies, so we do not need any input from them or reference from them in order to register as an NGO. But once again, I think it's because this procedure is so underutilised. So we got a mailbox today, so I now have an address. The organisation, it's down as a personal mailbox, so it's not officially the organisation's address, but once we get NGO registration it will become it. So that was actually the most straightforward procedure I've done since I got here. Went into the post office, filled in a form, paid the fee and got a key. Done. Postbox, address. Don't know how long it would take mail to get here, but it is a requirement, so we had to do it. What am I doing now? I'm going to organise all my documents to see what I need to photocopy tomorrow, because I will need to submit the stuff to the Ministry of Community Development on Tuesday. It's the waiting. It's really infuriating, because she even told us you need to keep chasing it up. Excuse me. You need to keep chasing it up. That is the most frustrating part, because it isn't a matter of putting in the documents and then standing back and waiting for output or production. You need to keep calling and saying, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on? Because that's what happened with immigration. And despite that, all my documents are gone. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I think tomorrow my day is going to get ruined by it because they have made it explicitly clear they do not want to deal with me at all. So tomorrow I'm going to use the word refund and see how that goes, because I had paid 1,500 kwacha for a TEP I have never received. We'll see how that goes.
I thought I would give an update regarding my work in the law practice. The law practice, when I got here, had 5 advocates, 5 solicitors effectively, as well as 2 legal assistants. When I came on board, I effectively became the 3rd legal assistant, mainly drafting and research duties. However, Oscar Mudenda, who, if you go back way back to weeks 1 and 2, he was the advocate that was teamed up with most. I went to court with him. He was also picking me up and dropping me off pretty much every day I was working. Oscar's now left. He's moving to Northern Province to be closer to his wife, who works there as an advocate, as a teacher. So we are losing one advocate. On top of that, we're losing another advocate, Mr. Jakuta, who is one of the senior advocates at Milner Cotolo and Associates. Will be moving on to go into practice himself. Him and a friend are going to form their own partnership, so we're going to be severely undermanned. So it should be interesting to actually see how the recruitment process works in that regards, because the legal profession here is very, very closely protected. It's almost like a cartel. When you go to Ziali, which is effectively the postgraduate law school, you sit the bar. So in Scotland, the equivalent is the diploma, and you have to sit, I think you sit 10 classes, so you have 10 exams. You have 3 attempts on each exam. The pass rate for people passing first time is 5%. So generally your annual size class is 200. Maybe 10 of them will pass, maximum. So a lot of people are put off in that regard, but people it basically means that every year there's very, very few available advocates, especially when you're trying to recruit. So it should be interesting, but either way, my workload is going to increase dramatically. But that's a worry for another day. What's the plan today? I'm going to try to give myself a haircut. I think I'd much rather be chasing someone around with this than actually putting it near my own head. But I suppose I should probably go and find a mirror. Well, that's another week complete. Still a lot of waiting to do. This week coming, there is 2 public holidays this week, so Monday, tomorrow, and Thursday there will be pretty much no movement within any government office, which means I've only essentially got 3 days to try and chase things up, which is a bit frustrating. On Tuesday morning I need to go back to the Ministry of Community Development to hand in the additional information that the officer requested. So I'll do that, and I shall also go back to the Ministry of Sport to see if the letter's been signed yet, and finally go to immigration. I never went to immigration on Friday. I ended up being far too busy, and I knew I never had nearly enough patience to deal with it that day. So I'll deal with it tomorrow. Looking through my documentation, when I got my previous extension for my visa while waiting for my temporary employment permit, I got issued with a letter that was stamped, which I assumed was a receipt. I checked it over closely, and it actually states that I have an appointment on Friday when my visa expires to collect my TEP, so I'm going to see how that goes. At this point, I don't care if I get my TEP, as long as I get my visa extended, I can live with it. It's just dealing with that office is so frustrating. Hopefully if they do give me a visa extension, it'll be for another month, because if it's week by week, it's so not worth it. It really is not. Because you go in there and you can wait hours to get seen, and then you get abandoned. You can be sitting at someone's desk and just out of nowhere they'll stand up and they'll wander up and they'll tell you where they're going, and you can be sitting there for so long waiting on them coming back. Then when they come back they forget that you were even there, you're starting again. Oh, it's so unprofessional. But this is Africa. So hopefully I'll make some more progress this week. If I just get one recommendation through and I can submit the application, I'll be so happy. I'll be glad.
It's the waiting is infuriating, especially when there's this risk hanging over my head of losing my legal status in the country. So, once again, hopefully in the next blog we'll have some resolution in regards to that, and we can continue moving forward.